Hello and welcome to episode 256 of Level Up Your Career. 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions drive the show. I'm Shanice Mitchell-Cox and I will be your host for today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find out more about what we do in our channel. So please give this video a like and subscribe to find out more about us. Blanche is in the social chat today, so please let her know your name and the city where you are watching from, and she will post a link to vote up the questions that you would like answered the most. And of course, you can add your own. If your question is selected, your name will appear in the credits at the end of the show, so get yours in early and stay with us to see that happen. Today, we discuss how to become a PMO. It's the second part of our series on this topic, where we explore one of the most rewarding careers with a panel of experts. Project management officers are vital for overseeing and optimizing project management practices, assuring alignment with organizational goals. They drive efficiency and consistency across projects, foster an environment of continuous improvement and strategic execution. So to help us explore this topic, our fantastic lineup of panelists. So let's jump in and meet them. I would like to introduce Robert Snyder. He is the founder and president of Innovate Elegance, where as a solopreneur, he formulates strategies to help leaders combat and focus on the uncertainty that often thwart innovation and get things done. Always focused on building collaborative teams, Robert uses a people-centric approach. Welcome back to Level Up, Robert.
Thank you, Shanice. I'm delighted to be here with a combination of new and familiar faces on the panel on such a valuable topic. So thanks for having me.
It's always great to have you on the show. So thanks for joining us today. And our second panelist is Darrel Popowhich, and he is an expert in building and managing business relationships, coaching executives, and is a regular contributor here on Level Up. He works tirelessly to support communities around the world and brings his thought leadership and experience to our panel today. Welcome back to Level Up, Darrel.
Thank you so much. So looking forward to the conversation today with the panelists. You know, PMOs are such a vital component of driving success inside of an organization, but also gravitating the people, as Robert says, people-centric, to feeling like they belong and they're accomplishing more than just delivering daily results. So it's going to be a great conversation we have today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And our third panelist for today is Mark Rozner. He is the founder and principal consultant at Sunrise Path, who focus on project management in the healthcare sector, an active contributor to professional communities. Mark now shares his experience generously with others, mentoring and coaching colleagues to help them in their careers. Welcome back to Level Up, Mark.
Thank you, Shanice. It is wonderful to be back, as the others have said, with new and old faces. PMO is a very big topic in the LinkedIn and other communities. It'll be really good to get everyone's ideas and thoughts how to move us forward in there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us as well. And our fourth panelist for today is Jessica Briggs-Sullivan, and she is a change program lead at Amazon. She is a professional IT, and she has moved over to a new role. Jessica enjoys solving problems, improving processes, and helps create a sustainable leading practice. She's always focused on helping others and enjoys making work fun and lifting up others. Welcome to Level Up, Jessica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about the conversation today. And just remember, the best way to appreciate your job is to imagine life without one.
Absolutely. That's so useful to remember. So thank you so much for sharing that. And completing our panel today is Wijnand. He is a senior practitioner, coach and trainer in all things project management. And having spent time as a consultant, he works closely with clients to help them solve problems in real time. A key contributor to the Level Up community and is based in the beautiful place, the Netherlands. So welcome back to Level Up, Wijnand.
Thank you, Shanice. It's always a pleasure to be on Level Up, especially with a subject like this, PMOs, which is in my heart and which is, in actual fact, the spider in the web for all changes in an organization.
Absolutely. Thank you. We've got a great panel today, and level up your career would not be the same without our wonderful question master. So today we are joined by Lory Quackenbush, who is in the most beautiful city of New York. How are you today, Lory?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing wonderful. It's nice and warm here in New York. Happy Friday. Happy to be here. And we have some great questions lined up already. So looking forward to a great show.
Wonderful. Should we get started on those questions and take the first one today?
Absolutely. So our first question, this comes from Tina Turner, which is very interesting. Why were PMOs conceived in the first place, and when did they start appearing in companies?
Oh, this is a great question, Tina. Thank you for submitting it. We'll head over to Robert and then Wijnand.
I joined the working world in the early 90s, and PMOs were already around then. So I'll have to defer to other panelists if and when PMOs were conceived and appearing in companies before that. I believe a tipping point for conceiving and creating a PMO is for a growing organization that sees unacceptable variability, teams being all over the place, causing confusion and unpredictability. So I believe a first sign of the justification for a PMO is when a growing company sees unacceptable variability in how they proceed with project and innovation work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wijnand?
Well, thank you, Robert, for making me feel a little bit older. But when coming in working, you would see PMOs already in the building and the construction world because they understood that doing things in a certain practical way with processes and guarding those processes, they were necessary to perceive and receive a certain amount of quality, which in the building world, construction world is of course vital because there are lives at stake there. In IT, however, it just started when people were seeing a lot of organizations doing a lot of changes, a lot of projects, and everybody did it their own way. You can go your own way, of course, like Fleetwood Mac said, but that's not necessarily the best way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Darrel?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a little bit of a theme here of the when. Certainly, as soon as an organization and the leaders see enough change in enough projects that they do want consistency and they want to understand why when evaluating all the parameters of a PMO. And so that really lands on that why. As organizations have a number of projects, the top level leaders want to be able to ask the questions, how are we going to be successful? What are the risks? And get consistency in the type of answers. Too often projects go from green to red in a day or a week, and there's no rhyme or reason, and it doesn't make any sense. You can't run a business in an organization with that kind of fluctuation in status. And so allowing an office to oversee the translation of success through project by project delivery, that's what organizations and executives are looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Mark?
Yeah, I won't date myself in terms of when I first started seeing PMOs, but they weren't being called PMOs, just like I wasn't being called a project manager at the time either. I think what I would probably throw out a little bit different from some of the others is saw the initial use of PMOs in organizations as a place to home project managers and really say, why are they part of our business units, and became a pool of talent. I think that has matured over time and now has become as important an organizational component as HR and finance in terms of being able to provide enterprise-wide direction and leadership.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Robert, did you want to jump in again and provide another answer?
Yeah, please. I think there are a couple negative cliches that companies or innovation organizations experience. And one negative cliche is reinventing the wheel. and the other is not incorporating lessons learned back into their subsequent projects. And so I believe the creation of a PMO is a positive sign of attentiveness that the organization wants to more explicitly factor in its lessons learned and reduce reinventing the wheel. And so I think those two cliches, it's important to keep those in mind, and reward and applaud an organization that is humble and attentive enough to create a PMO to fix those systemic and systematic problems.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Lory, if we could take our next question, please.
Absolutely. Now, our next question is also from Tina, but we're going to go with it because it's a good one. The question is, are PMOs expected to raise revenues, reduce costs, or both? Great question.
Yeah, this is a great question. We'll go to Wijnand first and then Jessica.
Well, the quickest answer is yes and yes. So, yeah, both. But a PMO is not primarily set up to raise revenues or reduce costs, as I said before. It is to enhance the processes and be aware of what you are doing within your changes, within the projects that realize the changes. So be aware that costs of PMOs are not actually calculated the same way as you would do with how many hours does a team spend or whatever. No, the costs and the revenues will be calculated afterwards to see in how we are working with a baseline for projects and how we are working with those processes in order to get a reasonably predictable result.
Fantastic. What a great answer. Thank you. And Jessica?
On the reverse side of that, or on the other side of that, I totally agree with you, Loans. It's both. At the end of the day, it's about value management, right? If your organization is not providing value to your company, then it's going to be eliminated, and you'll see project management teams being set up across the various organizations that are better equipped to handle them. So, and it comes down to the types of PMOs that you have in place and whether they're able to provide that value. So you'll have supporting, controlling, or even directive PMOs that may align to your company's goals and strategy.
Fantastic.
So making sure that you understand the strategy is where you start.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. Robert?
In my experience, PMOs have slightly favored cost reduction. And the only unique thing I'll add about this is that I think PMOs can be instrumental in minimizing cost surprises, because so many organizations and so many projects can spin out of control. Stakeholders can lose faith in the project. And so I think PMOs can be instrumental to reduce the magnitude and reduce the probability of some crazy negative cost surprise where projects spin out of control.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Mark?
Yeah, Jessica and Robert have kind of taken some of the steam, but I'll see if I can throw a little bit more nuance as well, because it truly is, it's adding the value more than a bottom line either way. And to Robert's comments, I would say it's lowering risk across the board. And I think the other sort of facet that I would add in there is change. It's actually adjusting for change. It's managing that change, and that ultimately affects the costs. It affects the value, and it affects the risk.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Darrel, if you could wrap us up on this question, that'd be great.
Sure. So who cares most about revenues and costs at that executive table? And that's the CFO. And most times the PMO is either reporting to the CIO or that chief financial officer. So the focus is on revenues and costs. But the best PMOs really are reporting metrics and success for every member across that executive table. And so they're going to look at people in HR, they're going to look at change in operations and measure those things. And so my word of advice to senior project managers and PMO leaders: have your message and reporting across all aspects and all points of view at that executive table, and you'll get more buy-in. You'll have less risk manifest into issues, and it's something to really think about on a weekly and monthly basis. Not just reporting on these two aspects. Bring all of the executive leaders in, and they will help push those stakeholders to really commit to the projects across the board.
These have been some fantastic answers, panel. Thank you so much. And Tina, I hope you enjoyed the answers that the panel gave you today. I'm just going to, before we move on to the next question, I'd like to do a shout out for the people in the audience today. Please introduce yourself into the chat. Let us know the city that you are joining us from today. And remember to get your questions in early, because we will provide live answers today for your questions. So get them in early, head over to Slido and submit them soon. Lory, can we take another question, please?
We absolutely can. We have a lot of great questions already, so keep them coming in, everyone. Our next question is from Mike. His question is, how can a PMO support DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion? Great question.
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. And we'll go to Robert first and then Mark.
With DEI initiatives, an organization could be dependent upon a hero and a few select individuals, and have DEI objectives succeed by chance, by sampling. And what a PMO can help do is systematize and incorporate DEI initiatives, goals, qualitative and quantitative, into the routines and into the muscle memory of an organization, so that these goals are not at the mercy of just a few good leaders. So PMOs can standardize and systematize DEI initiatives.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Mark?
Yeah. Again, Robert, grab my steam there. I think what I would add then also is, when we talk DEI, a lot of times it's race and gender, it's orientation, and things like that. I would probably raise that and say, looking at neurodiversity, but even one step further, when I've led PMOs, I'm looking for everybody's individual abilities, capabilities, what they each can do, regardless of what checkbox they have. And I think that's something a PMO really can help do, is say, let's just not focus on a single. Let's look at all, and let's look at our individuals and see how best to utilize our talents.
That's so important. Thank you so much, Mark. And Jessica, if you would like to wrap us up on this question.
Sure. All of that, all of what you just mentioned about the individuals. So when you think about our individual project managers, ensuring that they have the tools and resources so that they are inclusive, that they know how to speak the language, and it reinforce D&I in our organizations. You literally can put D&I in every part of your project management organization's framework. So starting from the top. So training and awareness, diverse project teams, inclusive communication. And I think that's honestly one of the most important things, is ensuring that you have open and inclusive communication channels, so that all of the people in your organization feel like they're accepted and can really grow their careers, and no matter what their background or identity is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, panel. Great answers. And Mike, I hope that has helped. Lory, if we could take our next question, please.
Absolutely. Our next question is from Arun. His question is, what PMO tools have you used in past roles?
Ooh, this is a good one. We love a tools question. So who would like to answer first? We'll go to Wijnand and then Darrel.
Well, I don't think that a tool is a very important part. I think that you need to have a look at what do you want from a system or a tool or whatever you might call it. I myself have used project management tooling like Intelligent Planner or Clarity or whatever. the methodology that you are using is very important in selecting what you are going to use. There are quite a number of toolings that are very expensive and need to be implemented organization-wide to be effective. So it's not really about the tool itself. It's about the way that you want to run your PMO, and that you want to have a look at the organizational part that you are going to implement, and have for yourself a very good idea of what you want to have supported by that tool before you go and select something.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Darrel?
Yeah, so just building on that, project management tools and dashboarding, a document repository. We're in the world of AI where we can start pointing AI at that project management repository, taking a look at success criteria and the artifacts built to get some lessons learned pulled out of when these documents are built to create better chance of success. But I want to raise the bar a little bit here. PMO should be bringing in things like culture and understanding whether the projects and all of the projects in the list are driving and lining up with the culture desire of the organization. Same thing with looking at the relationship strength inside of an organization. Are we pulling disparate parts of the organization closer together with the change that comes from projects, or are we actually building even more separation? And so that's the responsibility of a PMO in my mind, is standardizing the reporting and learning more from just the execution, but taking it to another level of how are we creating an even stronger organization as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Jessica?
In my career, I've seen all kinds of ways to manage projects. Some poorly, some better tooling out there nowadays. So I've seen people put together a project plan in Excel and manage it, pretty okay. I'm thinking more of it from a portfolio perspective. If your organization is, got a portfolio of projects, I would definitely say, stop using, bake as you go solutions. So Asana, Jira, MS Project, there's all kinds of Zoho Project, there's all kinds of ClickUp, Trello, there's all kinds of new project management software is becoming more available. But again, I would go to that strategy piece, figure out what's going to work best for your corporation or your organization, and then you utilize that across the board for your PMO so that you can manage the portfolio of projects.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Robert?
I'd like to draw a thick line between PM tools and PMO tools. For PMO specific tools, I think there's a lot of merit to starting low tech. Because if you jump into a tool, you jump into high tech, I believe you jeopardize the intimacy. There's a certain accountability and ownership that I believe companies should have as they're conceiving and shaping the infancy of such a pivotal, instrumental body for innovation teams. So I'm really trying to interpret the question literally. What PMO tools? Hopefully my body language betrays the shrug here. I think there's merit in low tech, so that we own the intimacy of the infancy of a PMO.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Lory, should we move on to the next question?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Our next question is from Peter Hoekstra. His question is, most project leaders like to run their project on their own island. What can you do from a PMO perspective to avoid this behavior? Great question.
Yeah, this is fantastic. We'll start with Darrel on this question.
Well, I'm going to say let's not do avoiding this behavior. I'm going to start there. Project managers have a difficult job of trying to get the idiosyncrasies of characters to work together in a fixed project. And team members know that they don't have to necessarily change their behavior for the long time, and so they might not. Same thing with the project manager. You want to allow them to express themselves in the way that they want. And so, and my experience has been when you try to force fit the way a project manager does some things, you actually reduce their ability to start with people first and create that team inside of an organization and see ahead the risks to create that mitigation. But you also need to have that standardization of how projects are delivered. And so this is where you bring in project coordinators to allow that standardization, that methodology to follow and push that kind of menial work that is even against the nature of that really good project manager to be able to drive the success of the project. So if you have a huge skew from the way that the project manager delivers, support them with project coordination.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wijnand?
Yeah, hi. Peter, so fun to see a question of you again, a fellow countryman. I don't totally agree with Darrel on this because, a project manager needs to be creative, needs to be able to expand himself or herself, and be able to run the project almost like they would want to. The only thing is that there is standardization and there is a way of doing things within an organization, and there's a way of reporting, and therefore you need, if you want to adhere to this reporting, you need to follow certain rules in order to get the data to fill the reporting. So if you want your project manager to comply with the rules and regulations of the organization, take the tedious stuff out of there and give that to the PMO. The PMO is very well equipped just to make sure that project elements that are actually giving those statistics, those elements for reporting, and those viable elements for management to take decisions on, to report them on that. And in my PMOs, I always had a few people that were specializing in either reporting or setting up a project in, for instance, Clarity, or creating the document management strategy or control within SharePoint or things like that. Then those tedious things are already ready, and then you can just go and run the project that you want.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Robert.
My provocative answer to this question is to exaggerate this behavior into absurdity. And I think there's a Latin phrase, reduction into absurdity. One objective of a PMO is to improve predictability. So for a renegade rogue project leader, project manager that wants to be on their own island and have irrationally high autonomy, you might give them so much rope to hang themselves. Sometimes we call it fail fast, fail small. But I'll lean into two different words, predictability and unpredictability. PMOs aim for predictability. And for such a rogue leader, I may say, you know what, I'm going to brand you unpredictable until that project leader realizes, you know what, no, we do have a lot of common traits and routines and documentation. On the topic of creativity, I believe there's value in distinguishing the mechanics of teamwork from the style of teamwork. Because when you are thoughtless about the differences between the basics and the fundamentals and the flair, you get yourself into trouble. I believe there's value in distinguishing what are our mechanics versus where do we evolve into style. That's where the creativity resides. The creativity doesn't reside in the fundamentals, in the mechanics. I'll leave it at that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Mark, if you'd like to wrap us up on this question.
Yeah, I run into it several times, especially in government project environments where there are separately funded programs and projects, and each wants to run its own way of doing things. And as a PMO, I found that looking for inclusivity, trying to pull them into a community, has been really helpful. They have to necessarily report through the PMO, but I literally would have a once a week or twice a month meeting with all of the project leaders and just talk about how projects are being run in the organization. What are they experiencing? What tools are they using? So that ultimately you have a partnership as opposed to a fight with them. And the last piece of that is ensuring that you've got your sponsorship aligned. Because if the sponsors of your projects, your programs are pushing for different things, you're going to have that much harder of a problem in addressing. It won't be the rogue project manager, it'll be the rogue sponsor.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. These were great answers. And that's the good thing about Level Up. We can agree and we can disagree. But the best thing is that we provide insight from the experts. So, Lory, on that note, should we take our next question?
I think we should. Absolutely. Our next question is from Chris P. His question is PMO a higher role than PM?
Ooh, this is a great question. Thanks so much, Chris, for submitting this. We'll go to Mark first.
Well, I just had this conversation the other day, actually. I don't really like when anyone puts something higher than anything else. We all bring something to the table, whether it's a business analyst, change manager, a PM, someone in the PMO, a portfolio manager, whatever you are. I hate to put it this way, but it takes a village. And again, I just use the word partnership as a way of solving for things. In the last question, I would use the same here. It's let's look for partnership. Let's look for bringing our greatest strengths and our best skills and not necessarily worry who's higher than the other.
Absolutely. That was a great answer. Thank you, Mark. Darrel?
I absolutely agree there with Mark and your thoughts. But from the perspective of the audience of a project manager and the PMO is going to be reporting to some level of that executive team. And so the visibility of project managers or PMO leaders is going to usually be different. And so from that perspective, who you're talking to on a regular basis and those questions coming from those executive leaders is typically different. And so is it higher? No. Are you talking more with higher levels in the organization to review whether the entire portfolio is on track? Yes, you are. And so for those looking for career advancement, be careful what you wish for. If you ask to be in that PMO role, you're going to get the questions from those executives.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Robert?
Like Mark, I think I'm going to label this question counterproductive. There's enough competition. There's enough competition in teams and organizations anyway. You don't need to find ways to dial up internal competition. The terms that I think are constructive in the direction, the spirit of this question is what does an organization feel is worth centralizing versus what is worth keeping decentralized? Because a PMO is trying to optimize cross-project and optimize globally, and an individual project accountable to a single sponsor, a single value proposition is optimizing locally. And that's also an eternal decision that every organization has in its decisions. Do you optimize locally? Do you optimize for the country of Belgium, the UK, the Netherlands, or are you optimizing globally across the EU, for example? So I think that's a more constructive way to delineate the altitudes of a PM versus a PMO.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Wijnand?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not constructive to look at individuals if the role is higher or lower or whatever. It is what can you contribute to the changes that we are doing. In certain points, if you look at a PMO as an office, you will probably see that sometimes people from that office are reporting back to the project manager. And in other situations, the project manager needs to report out to the project management office in order to get all the data, get all the reports together so that they can give a clear view of the total portfolio of your projects. As Jessica said in the previous question, you need to run a total portfolio over the complete company or organization or the world, or whatever you want. So creating openness, creating transparency will have the project manager or program manager report to the PMO as an office, whereas the PM itself will have a PMO supporting him or her in a very good way in order to do the best job that the PM can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Jessica, if you'd like to finish us off on this question.
I was just going to lend that PMO is really a resource both to your executive organization as well as to your project manager. So when I think of who's higher, neither is higher, but the PMO really should be lending resources to our project managers so that they can fulfill their duties. So if you look at it that way, they are very much equal in what they contribute to the organization.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, panel. And Chris, I hope that's helped answer your question. Lory, if we could take our next question, please.
Absolutely. Our next question is a great one. This is also from Tina. Assuming no company is purely waterfall or purely agile, is it fair to say that all PMOs are hybrid? Please elaborate on this yes/no question.
Ooh, we will start with Wijnand today.
Yeah, I always get some sort of an itch when a question like this comes along. And I think Tina knows that. There's no hybrid, there's no agile, there's no waterfall. There's only creativity in creating the solution. If waterfall is best, then waterfall is best. If agile, whatever form of agile you use is best, then you use agile. I truly believe that the majority of the projects are run in a combination of old school detailed design up front areas and agile, just enough detail up front solutions. So a PMO needs to follow the project manager in this, because that's the person that is deciding on how the project is going to be run. That's actually the organization. If the PMO is contributing to the solution delivery team, then probably they will follow the exercises that team does. So if they are running agile, they will go through the agile ceremonies, and if they are running from a detailed design up front way, then they will follow those ceremonies. So a PMO needs to know all those ceremonies, needs to be able to work with those ceremonies, and needs to be able to get those ceremonies the best quality and the best result that they can have.
Wonderful. That was a fantastic answer. Thank you so much. And Jessica, we'll come to you now.
I was going to mention that I totally agree with you, Lens. I hear a lot in my organization, my current organization, past organizations, we don't like agile. We don't want to hear the word agile. Don't talk about doing agile project management. So I always remove the term agile, and I don't necessarily use waterfall either. But with that in mind, there are important aspects to agile that will make your project management life easier. So backlog grooming, stand-ups, retros, like those are things that you don't necessarily have to put a full-scale agile implementation in place to bring to your projects to help them be more efficient and effective, and also just allow your people to be more creative and more fluid in getting the goals completed for the the project. And at the end of the day, getting the goals completed is more important than, saying, we got this waterfall project in place.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. And Darrel, we'll come to you now.
The way that I've see the PMO is it's the one trying to determine the best way for projects to be consistently delivered to drive the largest value into the organization. And so if there is a miss on bringing stakeholders and business leaders closer to projects, then maybe incorporating agile into some of that project delivery is the PMO's recommendation. And so PMOs aren't hybrid, they're not waterfall, they're not agile. And that religious war about whether you're agile or not really needs to end at the PMOs driving the best way for every project in the portfolio to deliver success. And some of those are waterfall, some of those are hybrids, some of those are pure agile, but it's about getting the people together as a team to deliver that successful outcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And that was a great question. So thank you for submitting that, Janet. Okay, Lory, we will take our next question, please.
Absolutely. Our next message is from Mike. Mike's question is, as a PMO leader, how do you grow your team?
Ooh, this is a great one. Yeah, it is a good question. We'll go to Robert first on this one, please.
Let's take an example. Let's say you're a PMO leader with a team of 5, and the demands on your team, the ideas from your team, the value proposition of increasing the centralization habits and routines in your company, if it's justified, yet you're falling behind, and your team of 5 cannot keep up with the attractive. It's a good problem to have, right? To have these demands. But if your team of 5 cannot keep up, then I think you have a justification for growing your team to, hiring additional folks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And we'll go to Mark now.
Yeah, I'll tail off of Robert. I think certainly hiring is good. Bringing the right folks in, but also recognizing, we talked about earlier, I think it was Darrel, that said project coordinators are an important thing to bring to the organization. I always look for opportunities to bring in my junior project team members into my larger projects and programs as support, but also as an opportunity to learn. In fact, in my last PMO, we made a budgeting decision to always have a more senior project manager and a less senior project manager on every project, so that every project was in fact a learning opportunity. And you were able to see really some raw talent come to the fore. And it was amazing to watch some of the more junior folks really flower.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Wijnand?
Yeah, maybe I read the question a little bit wrong, but how do you grow your team? I don't think the question is how do you grow your team? It is the question in how do you get your team just the right size for everything that has to be done within the organization. And of course, you don't have to grow your team if everybody's fit for the job and if they can do the job well. But yeah, well, if you are not falling behind, if you can't fulfill all the jobs, well, you can hire, but you can also train. That's what actually Mark said, of course, training on the job, or training by default, or training by delivering P3O or whatever classification you might have for PMOs. There are quite some trainings out there that can help people become more adaptive and more up to the job. But the first question needs to be, do I need to grow my team?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Jessica, would you like to jump in and answer this question too?
Following on Willen's comment about growth of your team members and your project management organization or your project managers, project coordinators included, soft skills. If you are a project manager without soft skills, you're not going to be able to manage your projects effectively. So emotional IQ, that's a big one that I highly recommend. Even just organizational skills, communication skills, having a mentor to help you grow as a leader, as a not just as a person working a project, and then just working on projects themselves. As Mark mentioned, I didn't know project management before I started working on projects. So I learned by doing, and I think that's a great way to get our younger generation Zeta involved in learning project management from the ground up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. They were some great answers, panel. And I think we've got time for one more question if we're quick. So, Lory, if we could take our final question, please.
Absolutely. Our next question was a live one. This one is from Malwina. Her question is, how can we further empower the PMO?
Oh, this is a lovely question. Thank you, Malwina. We'll go to Mark first and then Robert.
Yeah, I would probably reword this just a little bit, because and what you'll hear folks talk about is getting a seat at the table, because that truly is what the empowering is. It's making sure that PMO is seen as value add, that the PMO is the members of the PMO become trusted advisors to the organization. And as that happens, you'll be brought to the table. You'll be asked to not just be brought in when the project needs to be executed, but actually brought in when strategy is defined. And that truly is when you start seeing that PMO being empowered, is when it's further back in the process. So that's how you do that. It's a lot of good work, and it's a lot of good communication. And as Jessica said, it's demonstrating that EQ with the organization and being that conscience for the organization.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Robert?
4 terms came to my mind with Malwina's question. The 4 terms are VUCA, and I'll explain that acronym in a moment. Expectations, discipline, and empathy. So one objective of a PMO is to reduce VUCA. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And a PMO helps teams to reduce confusion, fog, laboriousness, reinventing the wheel. So in other words, PMOs help to improve discipline and improve empathy. How many teams need better discipline? All of them. How many teams need more empathy? All of them. So I'm hoping that, back to this question, to empower the PMO, have the language to really contrast what does good look like and what does bad, as in VUCA, what does chaos, what does VUCA look like? And I hope the language can help empower advocates of PMOs.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Darrel.
So I'm gonna come back to a question and answer that I started with. If you want the PMO to get more power, more decision making, more influence, speaking to the objectives of more members of that executive team and their desired outcomes of improving culture, improving revenue, improving the bottom line, improving operational effectiveness and efficiency, translating the project outcomes to the WIFM, what's in it for each of those members, they're going to continue to ask the PMO for the guidance. Are we driving the outcomes we're looking for at that executive table? And so as soon as you start getting more and more of those questions, because you've provided those answers earlier, there will be more opportunities, or create the first opportunity for the PMO to say no. As soon as the PMO recommends, no, we're going to stop a project because it's not lining up with enough of those objectives at the executive table with strategic direction, then you know that you've hit that ability to really shape and guide the portfolio that drives the most important value right now for the organization.
Fantastic. That was a great answer. Thank you so much. And Wijnand, if you'd like to provide our final answer for today, please.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to cut this one in half. First, empowering the project management officer, the person, is by letting them do the things that they are capable of, but not aware that they are capable of doing that. So you need to believe in your people. You need to believe in your actual persons that are doing the job and that are going to talk and work with those project managers or program managers that they are supposed to be supporting, but they also need to be able to guide them. The second one is actually the project management office. And that's all about stakeholder engagement and stakeholder management. If you can identify the correct stakeholders, tell them what the benefits are of using the PMO as their guiding organization, their empowering organization, making sure that the rules and the regulations are clear and everybody can adhere to that, comply with that. This organization will become more and more important in the organization. And actually, power is not that important. It's all about the organization that you want to help, right? This is not about power. This is not about money. This is not about doing the right, the best thing for yourself. It's the best thing for the organization, because if your organization is doing well and you contribute to that, you will be rewarded also. Although maybe sometimes you need to be able to ask for that reward because it doesn't come by itself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, panel. Some great answers today. It has been a fantastic show. So we're going to wrap up with some closing remarks now. So I will work my way around the panel. So Robert, if I could have your closing remarks for today.
Sure. Thank you, Shanice. Thanks to the other panelists. Thoroughly enjoyed your answers. On the topic of PMO, I'll leave the audience with 3 more terms. If you are pursuing a PMO, it's a sign of maturity. So I think it's a positive sign if your organization is contemplating pursuing a PMO. But you can't compete. You cannot be complacent, right? With a PMO, the PMO must stay attentive in a servant leadership manner to its stakeholders. What does it need? So buzzwords come and go. Buzzwords rise and fall. And over the last few years, I hear the buzzword servant leadership less. But I believe a PMO is an instrument to promote the culture of servant leadership. So I think it's a positive thing. I understand that PMOs sometimes have a negative bureaucratic reputation. So I'm trying to leave my comments with a glass half full, that it's a sign of maturity, attentiveness, and servant leadership.
Fantastic. And thank you for your time today, Robert. It's always wonderful having you on Level Up. And Darrel, we'll come to you for your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, panel. I enjoyed the conversation, especially when we have some disagreement of opinions, because what it does is it adds that color around how difficult it is for organizations to understand how to get things right for them. And so if we were all singing from the same sheet in the same songbook, we wouldn't be able to choose what's going to work for our audience out there. The component of a PMO, like, it is a linchpin in transformation. You're trying to line up the decision making and the execution inside your organization in one trajectory. Because if you allow the organization to make their decisions however they want, you're going to have decision clash, meaning some decisions are going to go against the transformational direction of that senior team and others will. And so just imagine the power of a PMO lining up the decisions towards that single trajectory. You're going to move the transformation with a speed and an urgency, and you're going to be talking about future growth rather than looking backwards of why are our projects not delivering what we're looking for. And so PMO is a sign of maturity and in a recognition. We want to line up the organization towards the transformational strategic direction we're looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And your insight has been fantastic today. So thank you for sharing your answers with the audience. Mark, we'll come to you for your closing remarks, please.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think the word I want to use across the board is value. The value that this venue, that APMG provides, is invaluable. It's just it's wonderful, and would 100% agree that this has been a wonderful panel to be part of. Great questions coming from the audience, and keep going to what the PMO is supposed to do: add value. If you're not adding value, you will no longer have a PMO. PMOs die on a daily basis. I can't tell you how many organizations I've seen they just all of a sudden the PMO just goes away. They fire everybody, literally. So really, if you're adding the value, whatever you want to call that team, whether it's a PMO or a value management office, whatever it is, bring the value.
Absolutely. We'll take that away. Bring the value, everyone. And Jessica, if we could take your closing remarks, please.
Sure. Problem solving is fundamental. If you're not solving problems in your organization, your PMO will fail. Providing value, at the end of the day, value management is the key to success. And I just wanted to mention, lastly, the importance of trust. If your leadership can't trust your PMO, it will fail. If the people working in your PMO do not trust your PMO, it will fail. So trust plays a crucial role in creating work environments where employees feel supported and value. Fosters collaboration and teamwork. It allows project teams to work together towards a common goal. So at the end of the day, if you don't start with trust, none of the other things that you put in place will matter.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And thank you again for having me.
Anytime. You're welcome back anytime. And thank you for your contributions today. And Wijnand, if I could take your closing remarks.
Yes, of course. Well, it was a wonderful discussion. I'm very glad to see that there are a number of questions coming from the live audience. So that's always good to see. And we need to keep on our toes to just give the answers. One of the things I didn't mention is that you don't start a PMO thinking, okay, we need a PMO. You start a PMO because it's necessary. As Mark said, and Robert, it needs to add value. But it also needs maturity. The organization needs to be ready for it and needs to be able to see the value of a PMO in general in the portfolio of your projects and in the portfolio of your changes. So if you want to start up a PMO in general, just create a business case that nobody can just get around it. Just create a business case and deliver that value. Prove that the benefits are there. That's the most important thing for an organization to be maintained.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for appearing on today's show, Wijnand. It's lovely having you as always. And Lory, if I could come to your closing remarks, I always say learning is better together. And I think this just sums that up today.
Yeah, I was just going to say I learned a lot today. And I'm just going to piggyback off of what Mark said. I mean, wow, what a great questions, and even just phenomenal panelists today. So thank you guys so much. So much experience here today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I can't wait to have everyone back on the panel. And I would like to thank our producers for our excellent questions today. It was a great job, and watch out for your name in the credits if your question was selected. So over on our website, you can search for answers to over 2,400 questions. It's a free resource connecting you with experts from all around the world. Don't forget, you can also listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. Just simply search Level Up Your Career with APMG and you'll be able to find us. We have some fantastic events coming up over the next couple of weeks. So on Monday, the 24th of June, we will be discussing how to become a business analyst. It's the second part of the series for this year. And then on Wednesday, this is an event not to be missed. Everyone loves design thinking. Should you love it too? So sign up over on our events page. And on Friday, we will be returning back for Level Up, and we'll be discussing the important topic, is Agile the same as being Scrum in 2024? It's the first episode of that series. So yeah, sign up now. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel and give this video a like and subscribe. If you would like to sign up for our newsletter, just ask and we'll send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a good week.